The Aeronauts is directed by Tom Harper, who directed Wild Rose, which I didn't see, as well as some episodes of Peaky Blinders and every episode of the BBC adaptation of War and Peace, which I did see and really liked. The film is set in 1862 and stars Felicity Jones as a hot air balloon pilot and Eddie Redmayne as a scientist who hires her to take him higher than any man or woman has ever gone before so he can prove his theory that the weather can be predicted. Okay, crazy bastard. I don't know about that. I'm very mixed on Redmayne and Jones, him because he's kind of weird looking and he's got a strange voice, and I haven't liked much of what he's been in. I didn't like The Theory of Everything or Jupiter Ascending. Fantastic Beasts grew on me the second time I saw it, but the second one was like a goddamn waking nightmare. I haven't seen The Danish Girl, didn't look particularly good. Les Miserables had some good things in it, but I don't really see myself ever wanting to watch that again, and I liked My Week with Marilyn. Yeah, I like that one. The only thing I really liked Felicity Jones in was On the Basis of Sex, where she played Ruth Bader Ginsburg, but I still have a bad taste in my mouth from Rogue One.
This is a rebellion, isn't it? I rebel.
But this film looked fun, like an adventure, survival, action, romance set in a hot air balloon. That's new. At least for me it is. If someone wants to tell me about another film set in a hot air balloon, I'd probably give it a look. It was a little difficult for me to find a cinema that was showing this at a time when I could go to see it, so I ended up going to a place I'd never been before, which turned out to be a cinema on the second floor of a hotel. The screening room was pretty small, it only had 22 seats, I counted them, and the screen turned out to not be very good. It didn't look smooth and clean, so the picture didn't really turn out the best. I've never gone to the cinema and ended up watching a movie completely alone. There's always been at least one other person in the screening room with me, but this time I thought, this is it. It's 10 o'clock in the morning on a Friday, there's only 22 seats, the film has already been playing for 5 minutes, this is it. And then some woman came in and sat down, and my very modest and not really very important even to me dream remains unfulfilled. So I actually did end up enjoying this film quite a bit, even though the screen wasn't very big or clean. The whole story takes place in one location, and that location is a basket. It's actually not that interesting a story on paper, because I didn't give a shit about him trying to prove that the weather can be predicted, but it was the characters that kept me watching. They do have really good chemistry and they work well off each other. He's the uptight scientist and she's the more adventurous, passionate one, and eventually he starts to loosen up and enjoy the experience of being in the air, and she comes to respect his efforts to prove himself. A lot of the more interesting aspects, story-wise, are told in flashbacks to them meeting and her having been persuaded to take him up in the balloon, and we see that she has a very tragic past that she's still haunted by, and he faces ridicule from the scientific community while trying not to disappoint his parents. And over the course of this balloon trip, in which they face radical temperatures and weather and magnificent sights and death-defying feats of survival, they are both able to reveal their struggles to each other and move on from them, which is what makes it so weird when we're told that the whole balloon trip only lasted like an hour and 10 minutes. A lot of stuff happens, and I think they should have made it so it took place over at least a few days. Even though the screen I saw it on was bad, it was a really good looking film, and I really wish I'd been able to see it on an IMAX screen because it would have looked fantastic. The visual effects are great, and most of the time it is very bright and colourful. All the CGI is very believable. There are some harsh scenes that really make the characters look like they're in pain, especially when their hands are freezing and they have to climb ropes and make it up on top of the balloon and all that sorts of stuff. Even the most simple scenes and actions are permeated with a feeling that they are really high up in the air in a big basket. They go through bad weather and freezing temperatures and mental health problems due to low oxygen and altitude. They're faced with obstacles and they have to come up with ways to overcome them, and each of the two has their own skill set, so they both contribute in different ways. During the opening scene when the balloon takes off, Jones does this thing with a dog that actually made me say out loud, holy fuck. This is before the other person came in and sat down, so it's okay. It was ballsy, very ballsy, and it shocked me and it made me laugh, and it was like the film saying, I'm going to make you feel something real quick just to get you to pay attention because you're probably not invested yet. And it worked like a charm. The sort of girl power aspect that the film has actually works here for two main reasons. It's set in the past, and it doesn't feel the need to drag down the male characters to make the female character look better. She's a woman who doesn't follow convention and just find a husband like her family wants. She has a passion for ballooning and she's gonna pursue it. She's the one who knows all about flying a balloon, so it makes perfect sense that she'd be the one saving Redmayne most of the time. It feels right. She doesn't feel like she's trying to prove anything to the audience as a symbol for women everywhere. A symbol that women can do things too. She's proving things to the other characters and to herself, and she doesn't have to have very pointed dialogue to that effect. A dumber script would have had Redmayne as at least mildly sexist and implying that women can't do this or that, and she'd give a big speech about how she can, and my eyes would roll so very hard. None of that crap. It was so great. The scene where she has to climb up the side of the balloon is good because it fits with her character and it doesn't feel like a statement, which makes it a stronger statement. There were some areas where I think the film failed. This is a small one, but I would have liked an explanation of how Redmayne was going to predict the weather. We just see him using these instruments and taking notes, but he never explains what they are or how he'll use the readings he's collected. It's strange because all you need to do is have Jones ask about it. She doesn't know about predicting the weather. No one at that time did. It would be a perfectly natural way to get that information across, but they didn't, and I think that's the reason I was much more invested in Jones than Redmayne. The film relies too much on the audience knowing already that this thing can be done. And now to the film's biggest failing. Why couldn't there just be a romance? Just do it. Why couldn't you just have them fall in love or at least hint strongly at the possibility? They changed the true story of two male scientists going on one simple balloon ride to predict the weather to this action-packed adventure with mixed genders and passions and skills. They changed what really happened, and I am completely fine with it because I can see why they made that choice and that the film is clearly better because of it. So why didn't they change history again and just have these two fall in love? It would have made me like it so much more. Redmayne's character in real life had a wife, and they admitted her. There are moments where it seems to be going that way with an awkward undressing scene and a hand-holding scene and them calling out each other's names, so why didn't they just go all the way with it? I'm not asking for a raunchy sex scene in the balloon. I'm just asking for a bit of romance in my movies. Why are there no more love stories in movies anymore? And I'm not talking about romantic movies or like movies based on Nicholas Sparks books and stuff like that. I'm talking about action-adventure movies. It just makes them so much more satisfying. Also, Tom Courtenay is pretty good as Redmayne's father, who suffers from dementia. I'm going to give the Aeronauts a B. I'm not joking. A lack of solid romance stopped this film from being a great time, but instead, and please forgive this unintentional pun, a slightly more weightless adventure. It's still good, and I'm glad I saw it, but it could have been stronger. I still had fun and was engaged, and it looked great, and a lot of that comes from wanting these two to survive more than anything, and the visuals of beautiful, peaceful skies and London and the English countryside from above. For an action-adventure movie with a romance that elevates the material, I'm going to recommend Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time. It's my favourite movie based on a video game, and it's pretty solid with likeable leads who have good chemistry. Check it out, it's fun. Thank you very much for watching my review. Please like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at @LookAtTheMovies. Comment down below and let me know if you've seen The Aeronauts, what you thought of it, if you liked it, disliked it, agree or disagree with any of my points, have any points of your own. I'll be back soon with more reviews, and I will see you then.